Keir Starmer has played down the significance of the Trump campaign's allegations, pointing out that Labour had volunteers who'd gone to America pretty much every election, doing it in their spare time and staying with other volunteers.
Starmer and the Labour Party are once again at the centre of a scandal, not only here, but also in the United States. They were criticised by Trump, who, to put it mildly, is furious. The trial will start soon. They've ruined everything again as usual. Let's figure out what's going on. We're starting to watch the first scene.
In recent weeks, they've recruited and sent party members to campaign for Kamala in critical battleground states, attempting to influence our election. A now deleted social media post from a senior Labour official said that there were 10 spots available to travel to the US, and that the party would sort housing for volunteers. But Labour officials say activists who have been campaigning for Kamala Harris are doing so in their personal capacity and are not organised or funded by the party. For some context, a foreign national can participate in campaign activities as long as they're not being paid for it.
Labour sent 100 people from among current and former party employees to the United States to campaign in support of candidate Kamala Harris in the US presidential election in swing states. The head of the Labour Party department, Sophia Patel, made a statement the day before saying that about 100 employees of the Labour Party would go to the United States, to North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania and Virginia. She has got 10 free places for those who are ready to go to the state of Carolina. She promised to take care of their accommodation. This was later deleted. Former Trump aide Sebastian Gorka called the plan outrageous and said such a move could damage London's relations with Washington if Donald Trump wins the election. In turn, Elon Musk considers the actions of Labour illegal. After the assassination attempt on Donald Trump at a campaign event in Pennsylvania in July, Musk openly declared his support for his candidacy in the elections. From July to September, Musk donated $75 million. In general, as the Federal Election Commission points out, foreign volunteers cannot donate money to a candidate's campaign or spend money on their behalf. Labour activists who wanted to help Kamala Harris were told that they would have to pay for the flight and car rental themselves, but American volunteers from the Democratic Party would provide them with housing. In 2016, dozens of Labour Party activists traveled to the United States, including North Carolina, to campaign for then Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. However, she lost to Donald Trump.
Commission. This is not the first time that either Labour or Conservative Party staff have campaigned in the US election. Our North America correspondent Peter Bowes reports.
Donald J. Trump.
US election interference by the Labour Party. The claim being made by Donald Trump's campaign that Britain's ruling party and Kamala Harris's campaign have broken the law. In a 6-page letter to America's election watchdog, the Federal Election Commission, a lawyer for the Trump campaign cites media reports about contact between Labour and the Harris campaign and requests an immediate investigation into blatant foreign interference with apparent illegal foreign national contributions made by the Labour Party.
A complaint sent to the US Federal Election Commission alleged that Labour had interfered in the election. The Harris campaign's acceptance and use of this illegal foreign aid is just another weak attempt in a long line of anti-American election meddling. The statement also called the Labour Party far left and added that Starmer's party had inspired Kamala to dangerously liberal policies and rhetoric. In fact, there are many theories that someone is constantly interfering in the American elections. The most popular of them is about Russian interference in 2016. Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller has charged 13 Russian citizens for interfering in the US presidential election. This includes the use of fake accounts using stolen personal data of US citizens, specific promotions, amounts allocated to them, etc. All Russian media, both internal and external, were directed to discredit the Democrats. Do you believe in it?
I think is a really dangerous precedent to have the ruling party of a ally somehow playing politics, getting involved in the actual campaigning with such a short notice. I mean, it's the last month of our campaign.
Keir Starmer has played down the significance of the Trump campaign's allegations, pointing out that Labour had volunteers who'd gone to America pretty much every election, doing it in their spare time and staying with other volunteers. The Prime Minister added that he and Donald Trump had established a good relationship when they met in New York last month.
Starmer rejected claims by Donald Trump's campaign staff that the Labour Party is interfering in the US election campaign. As he said, it is a common practice among activists of all political views from all over the world to volunteer for the US elections. He stressed that all such activists from the Labour Party do this at their own expense. He mistakenly believes that this topic will not affect the relationship he is trying to build with Trump. Starmer assured that he would work with the new American leader, regardless of who the US citizens choose. But Starmer believes that he has a good relationship with Trump, despite the fact that Trump has filed a lawsuit against the Labour Party. Starmer, who held a 2-hour dinner with the Republican candidate in New York at the end of September, denied that it could jeopardize his relationship with Trump. The Labour Party said it does not fund travel or accommodation for activists, which means its efforts remain within strict US federal election rules.
In the United States.
And probably to us politicos, I suppose, that kind of get off on this kind of stuff. But do we think that in terms of Labour's record already, I mean, you make a really good point, actually, that they seem to still be acting as though they're in opposition and they can, you know, be a little bit edgy and anarchic and throw a few rocks and so on. Of course, being in government, being in office, being in power is a very, very different thing, both in terms of the consequences, but also the message it sends. I mean, how many lessons have the Labour government got to learn, frankly, with regard to, you know, attacking pensioners, letting prisoners out of jail early just to reoffend immediately, being met outside the gates by cavalcades of Bentleys and Lamborghinis.
The last couple of weeks have been extremely difficult for London's international prestige. Charles III was greeted in Australia by large-scale anti-monarchist protests. It even reached the point of distributing cartoons with the beheading of the British monarch. The Congress of Leaders of the British Commonwealth, which began every 2 years, immediately turned out to be a failure. Even Canada did not send either Prime Minister Trudeau or the Foreign Minister there. Well, Starmer has to cut his tour short. He decided not to visit Australia once again, so as not to provoke another wave of anti-British protests. And Starmer will spend very little time at the Commonwealth Convention. After all, the agenda there is also not very pleasant. Caribbean countries are demanding that London pay £200 billion in reparations. Britain does not have such money against the background of economic troubles. The Labour Party already has to beg for investments from China, which is slowly taking over the British possessions. From the Solomon Islands to Antigua and Barbuda, the Labour Party has already surrendered the Chagos Islands, which were under British control for 200 years. Jamaica will soon hold a referendum on secession from the power of the Crown. Few people are interested in focusing on Britain, which is stuck in a systemic crisis. London can only brazenly interfere in the American elections on the side of Harris. However, it will end very badly for them if Trump wins.
What do you think the first meeting between a potential Donald Trump as President of the United States is going to look like with Keir Starmer as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, knowing how Trump likes to get his revenge on people that have slighted him? He's going to blame Keir Starmer for this whole 100 party members being seen to be shipped over to the United States to fight against his prospects of winning the presidency. How do we think that first meeting is going to go between Trump and Starmer? Well, I suspect it'll be very much Trump refusing to shake Keir Starmer's hand.
Well, it won't be a first meeting because, of course, Keir has already been across to the US, as indeed has also David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary.
But that was before the Labour Party decided to have a go at Donald Trump directly.
Russell, I think my advice to you is do not necessarily assume that what happens in private between two elected politicians is necessarily a reflection of what they say rhetorically to the wider public.
This spat between Starmer and Trump will heighten fears in the UK that Starmer will find himself isolated in Washington if Trump wins a second term in less than 2 weeks. Nigel Farage said that the Labour Party made a very serious political mistake after Donald Trump accused the party of interfering in the elections. What do you think about this video? You can write your opinion in the comments. I am really interested in it. See you in the next video.